Welcome. Happy Thursday evening. Welcome to the Devil's Den. Just hanging out tonight, open panel. Um, the link should be pinned. I really have nothing. I just checked the news. I looked at Twitter. It's been a pretty quiet day. We watched some Survivor. Took a nap. That's about it. So the usual. I'll keep it open for about half an hour or so, and if nobody shows up, I'll call it a night. Otherwise, we'll have a panel as long as people want to go or until I get tired. In the meantime, it's finding something to talk about. Not many people are streaming right now. Flo is streaming. Oh, he's about to stream. They're waiting for him. Maybe we could peek in on Flo. Well, we'll see what happens. What else is going on? I don't know. I'm just the host tonight. I don't really have content. So y'all come up. All right, I'll try to find something. Here's a quote. The most satisfying relationships are waiting on the other side of you learning how to fight well. I actually like that one. This is from Twitter. Yeah, really slow night. Okay, this is my friend on Twitter that writes jokes. Pie with ice cream is divine. Allah mode. Ha 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 ha. Get it? Allah mode. Okay, I'll go on to the next tweet. Gen X stories. What is this? He and his brother blew up their grandmother's chicken house with dynamite after she stabbed my Uncle Larry with the pitchfork because he stole food from the cabinets in her bedroom. Oh my God. That's kind of familiar, actually. Um, wow. Yeah. Country living. Oh, it's a lady on Twitter asking for people's Gen X stories. And that's what somebody said in. I had an uncle who owned farmland, a gravel pit, and a junkyard. He was a mechanic and would repair cars. I had one of those too. Sometimes taking part, the mechanic part, sometimes taking part in demolition derbies. He let me and my third cousin drive repaired cars on his land. We were 12 and dirt bikes on the gravel pits. Great fun. That's the story. But yeah, I mean, we did stuff like that. We had a four-wheeler. Um, growing up, we won it at the church raffle. We were so excited. Hey, Shelby. Good to see you. What's up? And we there was no place to ride it in the town, so we brought it to my grandmother's. And every time we'd go, we'd take it out and ride it all over her yard and the pasture and everywhere we could possibly ride that thing. And we had a game we would play. We used to play it on bicycles, but we transferred it to the four-wheeler. Me and my stepbrother. And one of us would drive, but with our eyes closed. And then the passenger would navigate them. It was like a game. It was fun for the most part. So, like on the bikes, the fun would end when we'd fall in the sewer ditches. Wouldn't stop them in time from going off the road. We'd end up, they had the big giant ditches and the sewage from the houses would drain into them. But on the four-wheeler, my grandfather had a little grapevine archway. It was like a little tunnel that you could go through. So I was trying to navigate my stepbrother through that tunnel blind, and he didn't make it through the tunnel. Well, he made it through the tunnel, but not through the tunnel. He completely like sheared one side of that thing completely. Like we were going into the side of the arch and collapsed the entire grapevine. That was sad. I felt really, really bad about that one. I did. I think they got it back up. They're very resourceful people. I think the grapevine got put back up in no time. So yes, whatever that I guess that's one of my Gen X stories. Growing up Gen X, rural Gen X. Which I guess it would be a little different than urban Gen X. Because I had to go to the cities to find my people, really, except like starting about 89 or 90. Well, we moved to a different part of the little town I was in, but more people start to show up from that culture that listen to that kind of music, kind of had piercings or weird hair. There were like one or two, and the younger generation that I could find. So I guess the 90s really was when Gen X started to come into their own and start finding each other as a specific youth culture. Before that, we were still embedded in school systems, etc., where we couldn't fully emerge as ourselves. So I think it was the 90s, that like very early 90s, late 80s, that we claimed our identity. And that was, there were several trends starting about that time. Slacker was one of them. That's what I was. People kind of getting disaffected from mainstream society and going their own way. And then the other thing was like the cyber digital techno scene started to take off. What happened? Are you ID entity? Are you okay? Oh, yeah. Would that the Satanist would say? What was he talking about? He said he was he has an entity complex or something. Yep, that's right. Mid 60s. I my cultural marking point for me personally, like artistically, aesthetically, etc., is 1966. So many things happened there. You had Beatles Revolver. Dylan peaked with Blonde on Blonde, but even almost more importantly than all of that, you had the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, Andy Warhol, Exploding Plastic Inevitable, that little artistic collective music scene. And you had the establishment of the Church of Satan by Anton LaVey, all in 66. So that's a very good like cultural transition point to mark. That's the beginning of Gen X right there. Then like a couple of years later, you had the Rolling Stones, Sympathy for the Devil, all the rock music. That's when I think Satan really started to make his mark on culture. Thank God. St. George Floyd. Yeah, and I would say 2020 was kind of the end and beginning of a different cultural moment too. And the George Floyd thing was certainly the dominant flashpoint in all of that. And for us up here in Seattle, it was the Chaz too. All kind of things happened in 2020. They had COVID, the unrest, the Chaz. They had an earthquake. Seattle had more like more fires and smoke than I've ever seen in my life here. And other things. It's like everything that could possibly happen in a year all happened in 2020. Oh, I would love to hear about that. Like if there were first of all, if there were satanic roots, I could almost guarantee it was a satanic temple, not my kind of Satanism. And or the queer, they have a little queer satanic collective up here. They were at Pride last year. In fact, I'm going to Pride Saturday. I'm going to live stream, and they might be there this year too. We might get. I tried to talk to them last year. I got that Pacific Northwest freeze that they do up here. They don't have a lot of people skills. They're not very social, and so it didn't really go anywhere. I have it on video. Actually, I can play it tonight. I'll dig it up. I have not been to Aberdeen, but I have been to Forks. That's on the Olympic Peninsula. And if you take the road all the way south and come back, I think you pass through Aberdeen. But I've only been to the peninsula once or twice. Once for sure. I went to that rainforest. Try to get an interview with who? Shelby, did you go? Were you in there? One day I stood on the very edge looking in, and I debated, do I want to cross so that I could tell the grandchildren I'm never going to have that I set foot in the Chaz, or do I want to just do the practical smart thing and stay out of it? And I stood looking into the boundary. Across the street was the Chaz. And I watched it for a little while, and the more I watched it, I'm like, no, it's not worth the story for the grandchildren. There's no way I'm even tempting fate by trying to step into that zone. And I think I made the right decision. I still do to this day. A Francis Farmer. Why does that name sound familiar? I remember. Am I thinking of Fanny Flagg? Let me see who this Francis Farmer chick is. What does she play in? She's an actress. I don't really know her. No. Is she a trans person? In Seattle, Washington. She kind of looks trans at her. She looks like the cover of David Bowie's Hunky Dory album, where David Bowie is kind of looking real feminine and trying to do a Hollywood pose. So if you're not trans, ma'am, I apologize. David Bowie had me thinking you might be. But yeah, I'm not familiar with her. So she's a real actor, like an actress. What did I see? I'm so confused. Who am I supposed to do the interview? Oh, with the queer. Oh yeah, I was gonna try to find the video. Yeah, if they'll give me one, I still need to figure out the laws. I think from what I'm being told and looking up online, I can stream and film in public as long as it's obvious that I'm filming. I did it last year. Nobody said anything. I had my little phone and I was doing this. People just ignored me and walked by like they normally do. All right, let me try to find. It's a series of videos. I have to find which one the Satanists are in. So just give me a moment. It's not that exciting. It's mostly looking at their Antifa artwork. All right, I think I found it. And then there's the booth with the pride flags. That's worth seeing too. Just to see the amount and number. In fact, I'm going to show that first. How do I get out of here? Oh, I already am out. Okay. They had a flag booth, and they had, I'm not kidding, hundreds of different types of pride flags. Any category you could think of, they had a flag for it in this little store. All right, here we go. We're coming up on the flag. I'll show some pride scenes. That's what I'll do. Oh, you're reading a biography on Frances Farmer? So, like mental health, she was one of the early celebrities to bring mental health into the conversation. All right, let me see if this works. I hope y'all can see and hear this. All right, this is the little flag booth, and then I'll show the queer people. Oh wait, that's the Satan people. Yeah, see, this is the. It was too busy the first time, so I had to come back. But that's the little Satan booth, and then we went over to the flag booth. Okay, you'll get a look. Those boxes are full of flags. They have entire. It's like a library card catalog system. And we had a hard time finding just the classic rainbow flag. Look at this. They probably did. Polysexual, Romani, Star of David, Princess Castle, intersex, lesbian pride, lesbian sunset. Look at this. This is pure marketing. This is not even politics anymore. This is pure. It's a poly material. I thought it was the poly flag. They have the love, love, love flag. We could get that for Talcott. I picked one up for them. They did have a weed flag. Look, they have an entire. Look how thick the weed flag section is. That was a PF Jung had a podcast series called The Gender Fucks. Do they even have that? Gray sexual. I think that might. Does that mean you're getting old? Now they probably have like Palestine Pride. I'm gonna look for those this year. A rainbow. That's what you call it. A rain, not the new rainbow, but just a rainbow. I would have never thought to look there. Look, there it is. Poof. Then they have one with the pink stripe. This is. And then they had some. Oh, there was a little sex shop with bondage gear too. I think I hit that up next. See the whips hanging on this on the wall? Yeah, look at here. Look at this. Wake up. You hear all day. It don't get more exciting than this. All right, so that is our little trip to the um, flag store. I hope that was educational or entertaining or something. It was at least a little bit of content. Um, Absolutely, I think anybody should be allowed to profit off their misery, and many do. Anarchy, yep, and there's also chaos through conformity as well, which I don't know if y'all could probably figure out which trolls on here doing that one. Well, we're gonna see at Pride this year. I wonder if I should get some. Midbro was gonna help me pick out my outfit. I don't have any Palestine gear to throw in, but they might be having some at Pride. I think she has the right to fly her Bible flag, and I would go protest on her side of the yard in support of her being able to fly her Bible flag. I think the Pride people are being bullies and obnoxious. That said, I think Alito's probably taking the high road and making the wiser decision here. So, like, sometimes you sacrifice principles to pragmatism. But even if she didn't want to do that and wanted to fly it anyway, I would completely support her. And I would even tell Alito to, depending on what kind of relationship they have, to let your woman express herself. All right. Oh yeah, the little Satan people. Let me get that video up. Actually, it was a Satan person. All right. It was a really popular tent. Like the line, it took forever. We had to go back 2 or 3 times just to even get in. All right. Let us take a look. I don't have a store, David. I might wear my little pentagram though, if I could gear it up to a necklace that looks cool. All right, here's the net. Here's the Satanics. See this table to the left. This is all political pamphlets and zines about fascism, and you'll even notice the 3 fascist arrows on some of the stuff that Lib used to have on his avatar. See, this is the queer Satanist up there, draped in the trans flag. See how she's or whatever that is talking to him. Normally, she did not do that with me. She got very closed off. There's something about me that people react to up here. See, look, the on that flag, they have the big arrows. Okay, can y'all move out the way? We're trying to stream here. Some of the art was cool, I have to say. And I don't know if this is the same group, so I don't want to give the impression that it is, but there is a queer satanic group up here that is in some kind of rivalry with the Satanic Temple. They have been for a while, and they have a whole website spilling the tea on the Satanic Temple. You can still buy stuff. You don't have to be a Satanist. I'm a Satanist, and I'm not getting anything either. I do like her hoodie, though. What is it? A bear carrying a gun or a pitchfork? Look at that. Look at that. Look. Aren't Satanists cool? If they're not dykes on bikes, we don't want to hear it. So only dykes can run motorcycles. You were like, what? See what I'm talking about? Bullies. Oh my God. Your ability to ride a bike is tied to your sexual identity. See, look at some of these, and we fight fascist. Um, see the arrows on that pamphlet? Mythology work, something. Yeah, this is how exciting it was. This is all I'm expecting Saturday, by the way. So if you have anything else to do, don't feel obligated to be there. Mm-mm. That was a dumb thing to do, lady. Okay, watch. I try to talk to you. So am I. See how she changed? She just deflected. I'm more of a philosophical Satanist. That sounded dismissive. Like I already know that I'm not your kind of Satanist. I'm the philosophical kind. So I don't want you to get like misled. Oh, and someone left their water. See, it's very. This is normal Seattle area interactions. It's very. They're introverts. Um, very low people skills, and yeah, I was surprised to see the 4-H table, and they Hang on, let me. the interactions. Oh, was there no sound? Are you kidding me? Was there no sound? Y'all didn't miss anything really. um, but the interactions are very awkward. Oh fuck. Well, was there sound on the first one with the pride flags? I didn't know I had to click a box separately for the sound, like on Zoom. I'll share it again tomorrow or something to for those that didn't see it with the sound. Fuck, I didn't know. Sorry. Ooh, I'm almost coming up on the half hour. I don't know if we'll get a panel tonight, but at least I tried. So yeah, that's what I know about Satanism here in this area, and that I tried to meet the Satanic Temple. They had this complex process where you had to be referred and then set up a coffee date with one of them in person to vet you. And I set up the coffee date, and they sent me an email to confirm, and I did, and I never heard back. So I got ghosted, and then COVID happened. And so, if there's satanic roots of the Chaz, I would be very, very interested in hearing about that. And was that Shelby that said that, or Nero Jack? Because it was Nero. That's what I figured. You think there's satanic roots to everything, because we're in a spiritual war, and if it's not your side, then it's their side. Oh yeah, bisexual. I'm not queer at all. I don't know. I sometimes wonder if it's anything physical. I don't know if they had trans babies, but they did. It was very family, and it had like straight couples with kids. It had older straight people. It wasn't just a bunch of gay LGBTQIA plus. It was very family, like normal. Like if you went to any community festival, it's the same mix you would see anywhere else. Straight kids, adults, gay. It wasn't heavy on the LGBT. Um, there's a whole article I posted about that a few times, and I might do a stream on it with somebody for Pride. I'm not a big fan of sexuality around kids in general because I didn't know what any of that stuff even was until puberty. And so that's until that age, it would not have even affected me. And after puberty, we knew how to find it on our own. So we really didn't. So to me, I think it's fine for kids not to see that. There's several arguments for it. Part of it is the liberation side of it, of like being free to be yourself, and that's part of being free to be your full self. But I don't necessarily think we live in a society, or if I even want to live in a society where that's the goal. Like, I think that having places where you can be your authentic self, like you can show up as your true self and not have to mask or hide, is important. But I don't think that necessarily has to be the public square. And I think when there's a certain line, and it's subjective, but when you cross it, it becomes a consent thing. Like the public is participating in something erotic and fetishistic that they are not consenting to. And I say the same thing about like the old sissy men in diapers that go out to the mall and they're wearing diapers and like baby doll dresses, and they have their mistress telling them to do little, like in their ear, like Talcott telling them to do little tasks. And that to me that's like acting out your fetish in public, and the people don't even know because it's all happening between you and this online remote mistress or whatever. That even if it's not obviously fetish, although to me it is, but it's not obviously, it's not nude or anything. It's more like cosplay. Even that kind of stuff. I'm very mindful of the rights and responsibilities that come with freedom. So, along with that freedom to be yourself comes kind of an obligation or a duty to be mindful of the other people around you in society. And you know me, I'm a very big about what I do should not affect you, and you're responsible for your own feelings and reactions. I think the exception to that for me is in the sexual realm. I think we're not at that kind of point in society yet, and I don't know if we ever need to be, where the sexual realm also becomes part of public expression. Like remember that guy that Biden hired, the kinkster that stole the luggage, and how he would wear all those outfits to work and stuff? I don't know if that's my vision of society. I'm fine with him doing that out off the clock, anywhere he wants. He could walk down the street, he could go to restaurants, clubs, but while you're on the clock representing the government, really for me, it's the steal the luggage thing, though. That's a character thing more than a aesthetic thing. Well, some of it, as someone who did it myself growing up, and remember, I said that the thing we were fighting against growing up that was oppressing us was just boredom, was like mediocrity, kind of blandness. So when we did it, it was to liven things up. It was exciting, it was colorful, it made it interesting, it was artistic, it was pushing aesthetic boundaries, and it was communicating to other people. It was a form of signaling, like tribal signaling too. It shows what type of music you listen to, because if you found other people that could relate as intimately to that music as you could, you were likely to share very many things in common. And it usually worked. Like, it was a pretty reliable guide to finding your people. But there's also, and again, this goes back, everything I'm talking about, these trends from Stonewall on, like even around the time of Stonewall, people were having these debates about how much sex should we include in this new pride movement, etc. And some of the thinking was there was this strain in the gay community, and these are the ones that are now calling themselves queer, that were more militant and more activist against heteronormativity. Most of the gays just wanted to integrate into heterosexual society, become a part of it. But there was one strand that wanted to dismantle those norms completely. And some of the pushing the limits of expression was to like renorm, like to push against those kind of expressive norms and displace them or replace them with these new norms. And that to me is, you're right, transgressive, illiberal. It's kind of bullying. It's intimidating. It moves it out of that liberal collaborative process into something a little more might makes right and authoritarian. And the drag queen story hour, Little Miss Hot Mess, wrote that academic paper with that guy about how the drag queen story hour is part of something called drag pedagogy or queer pedagogy. And it's a particular way of teaching where you do start to help kids to question existing norms. And the purpose of this type of pedagogy is to kind of dismantle some of those norms. So there is a movement in the activist community. And I would say not so much the gay side anymore as the queer, maybe some of the trans and the other alphabets. The LGBs, the lesbians, gays. Oh yeah, cool, Bex. You too. Take care. That's we're kind of the old school. We've kind of settled into mainstream society by now. There's not a lot of like activists of us anymore. There's not anything we're fighting for. We got the integration that we were looking for. The activists that are still left are what's left over from this queer line, and then the new generation of that got indoctrinated into it. or that found their way into it on their own, because there is an entire body of academic writing called queer theory that you could find this like type of thinking in. So I hope that helps answer your question. I honestly don't know either one. It's never come up. So. Yeah, the Fremont. I went one year. I don't know if you'll know, in Seattle they have what's called the Solstice Parade on the summer solstice in the Fremont neighborhood, which is kind of like the really hippie neighborhood. It would be similar to the Haight Ashbury of San Francisco in the '60s, and the Solstice Parade has the naked bicyclers, and I think you have to sign up or register or something, but whoever wants to can join the naked bicycle ride, and everybody, it's just this whole brigade of people on bicycles completely naked, and some people will paint themselves, body paint and all that. And I saw it one year. It was okay. I mean, being from New Orleans, I had seen plenty of naked before. Oh, it is in Europe. And another thing, in some cities, I know it's big in New Orleans, is the red dress run, where it's like one day of the year and everybody wears a red dress, even the guys. Like, you have these big burly Hell's Angel motorcycle type guys running around drinking beer in little frilly red dresses all over the town. And when the red dress is coming up, because like about a month or a few weeks before, you suddenly can't find red dresses anywhere. When you go to the store, nobody has red dresses, and you're like, oh, it must be red dress run month coming up. Shelby is not religious, and Bex is evasive. She studies the faith, but that doesn't necessarily mean she practices. But she's not agnostic, so she could be atheist, or she could be theist, but she's not coming out and saying. So she's leaving herself the enigma that she is. La Reina Madre de Mexico. And you're recruiting for who? It's working. They're already showing up. I want more of them. I want Bugby on here. I think he needs to talk to me for many reasons, both satanic and neurodivergent. He's like a lot of us. We're satanic divergent. And in fact, the Satanic Temple, I was not surprised to learn when I first was part of it, that over 50% of their membership was LGBT and or neurodivergent. It was a lot of neuroqueer, because Satanism is the religion of misfits, of outsiders, of people that don't fit anywhere else and have to make it through, like, that are strong enough in their own identity to make it through despite not getting that validation and affirmation from society. I like shrewd people because I can learn from them. Like, I can get to know his pattern. He's more of a marketer. I know he's trying to sell his book right now. And some of it, I think he's like placing himself in opposition or in critique of the Satanic Temple. Because he was kind of involved at the beginning, sort of like as a consultant, or he was part of a little group that started to think about forming it. To be honest, I haven't paid close attention. And that queer satanic group I was talking about, let me see if I can find their website. Also has a whole bunch of writings on the roots of the Satanic Temple. And I don't know what Bugby's relationship with them is, if there even is one. I'm going to check my satanic Twitter in just a second. Wow. Vice did an entire article on queer Satanism. This is what I'm talking about when I said that Satanism has gone woke, and this is from 2017, so take it for what it is. But still, I noticed it in 2022. It was very queer and social justicey. All right, Jack, that's probably as close and comprehensive of an answer as you're going to get tonight. Let me find these queer satanic people. You know what? Let me just hop on to Twitter. Oh, hang on. I'm multi. All right. Apparently, it's called Queer Satanic. All right. Here we go. QueerSatanic.com. I will post the link. Okay. That's the little group that has some kind of beef with the temple. And they tell their story. So there you go. And I'm not saying that was the group that was at Pride. There's probably other queer Satanism is very popular up here, apparently. I see people with Satan t-shirts around town here and there. There probably is one. Wikipedia is pretty good too with their articles on Satanism, because if you follow the little footnotes in them, it leads you to the original sources. They do have a Satanist wiki. So there you go. And Jack, if you're really interested, I just watched a documentary called The American Satan, which tells the story of Anton LaVey and the founding of the Satanic Temple. And if you're interested, I don't mind watching it again. It would probably do me some good. Okay, well, I think this was a decent night. I'll go for a little while longer and cover a lot of ground. I'll be here for coffee in the morning. Then topics tomorrow. I'm gonna tie up some thoughts about the sophist, and because I think a lot of what we see today and what we're doing today on social media and here in the Panelverse is very, very similar, if not identical, to what the situations the sophists found themselves in and what they were trying to do. So we'll look at some parallels. Cool. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know if you noticed my rebrand, but I'm definitely trying to pivot more toward Satanist. I would like to get more Satanist on here, because one thing that helped me with autism and neurodivergence is finding other neurodivergent people to compare notes with, learn from, mirror each other. And I need to do that with Satanists now. I need that validation, affirmation from that identity model we talked about. There's certain things that Satanists give each other. There's certain things that men give each other. Like, it's a type of mirroring and theory of mind and cognitive empathy. And there's certain things I can only learn from other men. And there are certain things that I can only learn from other autistic people. Like with Hank, I see so much of myself in Hank in a way that I can't see in just other people. I need that from the Satanists for that part of the identity to start developing. This is identity development, which is part of personality development. And so I'm trying to attract more of that identity. I think it's going to help the channel in general, especially now that I'm going over that peer support stuff, and so much of it is centered on self-empowerment. Satanism is the religion of self-empowerment. So it's all, like I said, everything in my world ties together. It's all tied together. Okay. I might be blacker than Hank in some ways. But yeah, he's like my autistic brother from some kind of mother. The chef guy. Who's the guy you saw? Zach Black. He used to run a network called Satanic International. In fact, that's where I got a lot of my t-shirts from. Some of those were designed by Zach. And he it was like a website, and it was a forum, and there's like a membership. You could find members in your area, etc. And it was probably the best collection of Satanists that I found. It really was the Satanic network that was closest to what I was looking for. It was very decentralized. All Zach did was keep the website going. He was very hands off, and eventually he decided to shut it down because there's no point in this age of social media. He's like, Satanists can find each other just fine now without it, although I haven't been. But he has several YouTube channels. He's also known as the 30 Hits of Acid guy. He lives in San Diego, and he did a YouTube video one night where he took 30 hits of acid, and then he goes around San Diego like taking acid and doing videos. And he has a channel on Satanic International. He has his own personal channel, Zach Black, ZACK. I'll try to find his channel. Let me see. And anyway, during COVID, he used to do these. I didn't know at the time, but they were called panels. He used to come on YouTube and open up a Zoom link and post it on his Facebook group, and people could jump on and join the panel and have conversations. And I hopped on a few times and talked with him, and some guests would drop on. We talked about mental health and Satanism, et cetera, et cetera. And that was my first time paneling. Except I didn't know it was called paneling. And I've been doing that ever since. Yeah. I thought about it. In fact, he kind of has the idea that I had of like, when the network gets big enough, because this satanic network he had been building for years and years and years. And it was big enough that it had multiple members all over the world in many different regions. And so he had chapter heads for different states and regions. And I had stepped up to be the chapter head for Washington State. And so we were talking a little while about setting that up. And then COVID hit, his life got busy and all kind of stuff, but it just never really took off. But that's the idea I have for this network, if it ever gets that big, is just have in addition to a centralized online meeting place, or even decentralized. Right now it's the streams in the Discord. We would start having in-person little groups in different cities where there's enough people. Alabama, I'm a little familiar with. I've not heard the Free Will Holiness Pentecostals, but I'm fascinated that they thought to put the word free will in their name. Is it the Free Will Holiness Church? I think I saw that on True Detective. Were they in that tent? And Shelby, are you saying up here, like they were Alabama Baptist, but they lived in the Pacific Northwest, or do you actually come from Alabama? Is that the roots? My best friend after high school, I was kind of slacking and doing my thing. I had decided college was not for me after a year and a half. Was this Pentecostal girl that I went to high school with that we somehow reconnected and started hanging out. And she was like the long hair. They didn't believe in cutting their hair, no makeup, denim skirts, very modestly dressed. And her church was like, they'd speak in tongues, they'd catch the Holy Ghost in a paper bag. Oh, kind of, it was wild. And we became like this. And that's about the time I was like starting to go out to the gay bars and really be open about sexuality and everything. And we made the best team. She was so supportive. She was one of my biggest sources of support, and her whole family were. She had a large family, and they were the most loving, kindest people I had ever met. And their position on homosexuality at that time was, it is not their place to judge. That's God's job. Their job is to just love people, love everybody. And that's the approach they took toward it. And so it wasn't even a barrier. So I would go to her Pentecostal meetings with her, and she would come to the gay bar with me, like full Pentecostal regalia. And she was great. She fitted great. The gays loved her. The drag queens started hanging out with her. She started like going to shows with all my friends, like helping them with their drag, like being their drag assistant. And it was fun. And so my introduction, that was like my experience with Pentecostalism, and it was a very positive one. And it gave me very early, at a time when I probably needed it the most, a very positive representation of Christianity and what Christianity could be in the face of something like social, like homosexuality and all the social friction that was around it at the time. And what a lot of Christianity was pushing back. So I didn't acquire this, like, I didn't internalize this sense that Christianity was the enemy and Christians were evil and they were trying to stop gays. I knew it was like this very specific strain of Christianity, this very specific group of Christians, that it was not all Christians, that there were Christians out there that were perfectly capable of being supportive and non-judgmental. And that all came from her Pentecostalism. And I don't know which branch it was, but I have very, very positive memories of Pentecostalism and of her support. I had to fake tongues. I was at one of their meetings, and when I first, like one of the first ones I went to, and we were in this little room, and then they started like calling the spirit and everything, and then they all started to circle around me, and they were like saying, it was probably 20 or 30 of them, and they were saying, we know you can feel the spirit, brother. Let the spirit come through you. Feel the spirit. And they were coming closer and closer. They were putting their hands. And I'm like, oh my God. I looked at my friend and I'm like, what do I do? And she's just looking back at me, kind of gritted. And I realized I had to show them some kind of way that I was feeling the spirit. So I started faking some tongues, or trying to, and just like and they were like, yes, brother, the spirit is coming through. So I just kept doing that, and they, like, I guess, touched me a little bit, and they got their spiritual charge, and then they let me go, and we finished out the meeting and everything. And I walked out. I remember telling her, that was so weird. Do you think they could tell that I was faking? And she's like, no, they probably really believed you had the spirit. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know I was that good. So, yes, I did fake spirit. I don't know if that's a sin. And Satanism, it's not. It was getting me out of a situation that no Satanist had any business being in. But we do learn from other religions. I like to learn from everybody. I've always been that way. There's nothing. I have to know everything about everything. I can't help it. It's the jigsaw puzzle brain in me. I have to have every little piece of the puzzle in the place. All right, I guess that's it for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow for coffee in the morning. Come have coffee with Satan and devil and chat. Get your day started. Shelby, remember, that's how our peer Zoom started, with peer coffee every morning. I was there at 6 a.m., sometimes earlier, every single day. And eventually people started showing up. And that grew into a whole 24-hour Zoom that we kept going. All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. See y'all tomorrow. Keep rocking.